Good morning, coders. Hope everybody is well. I have just poured, or emptied, or knocked over, I should say, half a pint of orange squash on my desk. So, not my finest hour. Ugh. It's alright, I've cleaned it all up now, but I'm stood on a towel. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so what I want to do today is look at BottleJS, because this is a dependency injection container for JavaScript. And the reason why I want to look at this is because it will help me create dependencies in JavaScript as classes and then inject those in. I want to do a little bit of restructuring with the code on the How to Code Well site on the front end. It's kind of spawned off due to working on the user login registration stuff. There was lots of code that was littered around that I would like to put in their own sort of classes. And then that got me thinking, how am I going to inject all the classes in? I'm a PHP developer. I'm used to using Symfony containers and service containers. I'm used to using things like Pimple and Composer and all of that jazz, autoloaders and stuff. And I was looking for a solution for JavaScript, and I was playing with is it D4JS, DI4JS or something like that last night. I was only playing with it for a few minutes. Then I came across BottleJS, and it just looked a little bit similar to, say, all the other things that I've played with in PHP world. So I want to play with that today and just try a couple of things out. So, without further ado, I've had to move all of the stuff, so buttons are all over the place. So for instance, the orange juice or orange squash went over my Stream Deck. It went over the keyboard. So that might be an interesting one to play with today. If things go a little bit wrong. It's all cleaned up though, which is good. Okay, so I'll just go through what I've done, right? I'll just go through what I've done, and if we went over to, this is the front end. If we went into services, what I've started to create is a series of managers and a series of APIs. And I guess my thinking with the managers is sort of like very similar to, say, Doctrine or Symfony, or where you would manage an entity, that kind of thing. So I was playing with this last night, and I think what I'm going to do today is just split this out even further, just so I'm not littering my new code with the old code. That's probably wisest. And I think what I'm going to do first of all, excuse me, is I think what I'm going to do in services here, we're going to create a new directory, and we're going to call this API all uppercase. Hang on. Yeah, I'm going to have to rename that. All right, let's not, I just wanted another place for it to live, to be honest. Yeah, okay, thinking about this, I think I'm going to do API client in here. It will be replaced eventually with an actual API client. That is, and I want to rename this to be manager. I want to put all the new stuff in uppercase. Okay, so, and then what I'm going to do is port over the new stuff from here into here. So that's the abstract client. We're going to delete that. And then I was playing with last night the security API as well. So we'll just quickly copy that, paste it into here as well. I'm glad to see my keyboard still behaving nicely. Yeah, let me just see, what did I do with that. I'm going to do a git revert, a rollback, I mean, of you. Okay. Okay. I don't know. The thing is, I've done a lot of change all over the place, and I'm not actually happy with the way the branch is at the moment. Let me think about this for a second. Maybe it's worth me doing a complete rollback, because this is a disposable branch here. You know. Yeah, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should start afresh. That's probably a wisest idea. But I'll show you what I mean by my creating classes that could be injected using, say, BottleJS. So here we've got the security API, and here we've got a login. Here we've got the ability to get a user, and then here we've got the ability to register. Right. So this is within a security. This is within the class security API, and extends the abstract API, which is this one. So here we've got, you know, get base URL, make headers, handle API errors and other bits like this. In the user manager, this is essentially going to inject the security API into here. So really I should put that in as a constructor property. I'm just playing with code at the moment. Not a lot of this really works. It's just me sort of playing. And then here is sort of the check for is logged in. So this checks whether there is a browser, because obviously if I'm building it through Gatsby, there won't be if I'm doing it on Node. So this will return false if there isn't. And is browser is off of the abstract manager here. So it's just this little method. And then yes, if that's not the case, then it's then doing this security API get user, and then doing then checking the response type. So if there is a 200 OK, obviously in the real world there'll be more than just checking the response is okay, right? So then that would return this, and then login would. So basically what I'm just saying here is that the managers are kind of like doorways into the APIs themselves. They're kind of like facades in, that kind of stuff, which means that when we get to the actual pages, like say for instance, what did I do here with the I guess login is a good idea. So we would do instantiate the new user manager. We would then do manager is logged in. If the manager is logged in, or if the user is logged in, then we redirect to the account. Now this beforehand, I don't know if you remember, but beforehand this was all messy. This was all over the place. But now it's kind of very snapped together. And then down here in the login form itself, we would do a similar thing. Here we would do instantiate a new user manager, and obviously I won't be instantiating these things if I was using BottleJS. I would just be pulling it from the dependency container. So here we would then do manager.login, and then we put the username and password, and then we would do all of this stuff, and then we would do a redirect and blah 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 blah. Yeah. So a lot of this is pseudocode in the sense that it doesn't actually function. I'm just playing around with the restructuring at the moment, just sort of making. This is why this is this cookie monster was originally a branch to do with cookies. Surprise, surprise. And then it kind of moved into this, but this is going to be a throwaway branch. Yeah. Hey, the Tilladin, good morning. And hey, Stranger is raiding with a party of 55. Wow. Excuse me. Gosh, good morning. Good morning. It's what, 7:15 in the UK here. So I hope everybody's well. It's pleasant to see you all. Thank you very much. I hope your raid went well. Is it Strager? Okay, so that's the idea today. That's the plan. We're going to see how this kind of pans out. So basically, I want to port over some of the code into these kind of classes, and then use BottleJS as a means of creating an autoloader. BottleJS, by the way, is here. I really like this the documentation here because it's about beer, and that's all good. So var bottle new instantiate a new bottle of beer, and then in here we would pass in the services that we want with an alias. So for instance, we want to call this beer, and then we would do pulling out of the container, we would do bottle container.beer. That would be how we pull it out. But of course, in this example, there's a lot of dependencies. So we would have a dependency of barley, hops, water, and beer, because they are the dependencies of beer, right? This example here, var bottle new bottle, is putting all of those dependencies of beer as services, and then what you do is you do bottle service and then beer, and then you apply all of those dependencies. You say that beer requires barley, hops, and water, which I think is really quite nice. It's a nice way of doing it. So eventually we'll get to this point and play with that. Wow, just looking at the chat. Thank you. Hello. Get pond. Is it my computer exploding or is your stream exploding? Oh, thank you. Swagger. Ah, okay, cool. I stand corrected, literally standing here. I stand corrected. Stragger, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. You can't see the code. Okay, so sorry. The code here. So for instance, with the security API, we would have some asynchronous code to say login, to get the user, and to register. There's obviously a ton more. I mean, this project, we've been doing it for yonks. So for instance, in the services in API, this is the stuff I want to replace. We have things like the category, the course API, so get courses. We've got all of this stuff. This, by the way, I should say, is probably worth me giving you some context. We are building the howtocodewell.net website, and we've been building it for the last few years on Twitch. So I host How to Code Well. I teach code on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, How to Code Well. These are all the courses that I've done, or the vast majority of them. The internal ones, I've also got some courses in for Manning Publications and Pack Publications. They're not here yet. And essentially what I would like is if I went to the, say the beta, because we've got a beta version. The new version has the ability, to, or it will. Oh, I just need to sign in. The new version, yes, there we go, has the ability to create an account, and you would register and all of that jazz. This is in beta, so it's not actually launched yet. So the main site, howtocodewell.net, when you just click on one of these things, for instance, I don't know, Docker for Beginners, for instance, it would take you straight to the playlist on How to Code Well. And what I want to do in the next iteration is to have the ability to actually create an account. So if I was to log in, you could tell it's in beta. It's still a little bit rusty. You would have your own dashboard, and you would be able to select courses, and you would say, for instance, in this case, we would do Docker for Beginners, and you would click on. So here I haven't quite worked all the UI stuff out, but essentially it's an internal player. And this would go into your account, so it would know that you've enrolled into this course. Obviously, like I've demonstrated, there's several steps to fix for that to happen. But eventually, this is what's going to happen, and there'll be the ability to download the code, watch ad-free, for instance, if you wanted to become a premium member. I've also got premium courses as well, which won't be available on the free tier. At the moment, we're just working on the free tier because that's kind of like the groundwork to get all of this stuff on. So that's kind of a sort of a top-down view of how to code well. The new platform is going to be all about. Yeah. So this is all, the front end is all built in Gatsby. There is a Symfony API that we've created in Symfony 5 that handles all of this. So when it gets built, it pulls in all the bits and pieces via the Symfony API. And then obviously when you log in, it's then making API requests to do all those things and pull down. And the current site doesn't have the ability yet to log in, right? It just goes be the first to get access, and you have to there's the ability to sign up to the newsletter. So this is a new feature, and the things that I'm working on at the moment is the user security side of it, the authentication and the authorization side of it on the front end. The back end is pretty much sort of there. And I then came to that sort of point where I was looking at the code and I was thinking, this is terrible. It needs to be split out into isolated classes better, because it's all over the place. Like, for instance, if I went into the account section, let's say profile here, it's littered with things like login, check, redirect, right? That doesn't really mean anything. And then within the actual components, the React components themselves, like for instance, if I went into components and then course card, it does all sorts of stuff like within the component itself, which should really, is enrolled, has enrolled, which kind of needs to be passed up to another class. This has enrolled method, for instance, is just in a course enrollment JS, which is just sort of a collection of exports. So we've got an export here, we've got an export there, we've got an export there. Yeah, it's not nice. Not nice. It's lost. It's very static. So, like for instance, this has enrolled, then does get user. Get user is on another file, auth.js, which then does delete all old keys, which goes somewhere else. So it's not tidy. It's not tidy, and I think it's probably a good idea for me to sort of draw a line and go, right, we need to do this in individual JavaScript classes, and I want to take the view of doing it without being too coupled with the React, because I'm of the opinion that if I wanted to change to Vue, I could just sort of use the dependency injection BottleJS to then put in all of my vanilla JavaScript into that without being too coupled with the framework that I'm using. So that's the plan. Wow, just looking at all the looking at all of the comments here. Wow. So BottleJS isn't a framework, it's a dependency injection container. It's a bit like what you would have in say, PHP. Is it spelled wrong, is it? That's probably the case. Let's have a look. It is. Hang on. That... Lols. This is me trying to do streaming at 7 in the morning and then rushing about like a headless chicken because I have 5 minutes before I started, I spilt a lot of orange squash over my keyboard, and so I was running around like a headless chicken trying to clean it all up. Ugh. So yes, I have spelled it wrong. Are these articles too, or just videos? These are videos. These are all videos. So, for instance, these are all videos. These here, well, all of these are all tutorials within the course. So these are specific courses like Python control structures. These are all like a tutorial on for loops and incrementing loop counters and lists and operators and all sorts of other bits and pieces, funky stuff. So we've got Python. We've got Python, HTML, PHP, JavaScript, Symfony, Jekyll, Linux. So that's my Linux Bash for beginners, which has 15 tutorials. So this is how to remove directories and files, how to move and rename files, working with directories, standard inputs and output streams, pipes, cat commands, display hidden files, permissions. So these are all sort of like one little single tutorials that make up this 15-part course. Do you have any articles on the ternary operator? Oh gosh, I don't think I do. No, but I have mentioned it. Or do I? No, but I'm sure I've mentioned it a couple of times in a tutorial. In a course. Let me just write that down, because I will. It's one thing I do. You see, is a lot of my content is geared by the audience. So if you've got any suggestions, then let me know. I'm going to just write that down. So that was ternary. Is there any particular language you want? I can do it in PHP, because at the moment I'm thinking about redoing one of the courses in PHP for the latest PHP for PHP 8, so I could do it in that. Did you know that this site uses cookies? What do you mean? If all your code was in one file, it would be less scattered. Oh, I see. Fair enough. Okay. All right. Let's write some code, shall we? That's probably a good idea, right? I did know. I wrote that. I did write that. Okay, so where should I start? Let's have a look. We want to move, say, the API. We want to move. We basically want to get to a point where we've got Sorry, I'm just sort of processing this in my brain a minute. We want to get all of these out into their own little classes, sort of in here, and we want to use BottleJS as a means of pulling those in. So I guess what I could do is install BottleJS and then have a little play. That's probably a good idea. And then maybe using the user manager, inject that in with the abstract manager. That's probably wise. I'm gonna have to tidy that up. Obviously that needs to go in there. So let's do that. Let's go over to here. Let's just get rid of all this for a second. Installation. Bower. Wow, who uses Bower these days? Gosh. Let's do npm install BottleJS. npm install. Make sure I spell it right this time, yeah? So Stragger, tell me, what stuff do you do on your stream? What do you cover? You've just mentioned. Well, I've just seen on the comments that you've been talking about the conditional operator. Okay, cool. You help people with programming questions. Nice. in any particular language? Do you focus on, say, JavaScript or yeah, I tidied this up the other weekend, but look at the amount it's had to audit. It's crazy, isn't it? The JavaScript world is nuts in terms of the dependencies. I fear to even consider looking into my node modules folder. It's like it'll probably be looking into the abyss, a black hole. That's awesome. You did Haskell, JavaScript, Python, C++, PHP, and maybe something else. Fair enough. How long was that stream? I guess what I'm going to need to do is create some mechanism, some autoloader mechanism, because if we follow this example here, we're going to, hang on, where is the example? Here. We're going to need to have some sort of file to then put all of the services in, right? Now, in, say, if I put my PHP head on, then this would be in an autoloader. So you would autoload all of this stuff. Although I don't really know if that's the right terminology. Or you would call it like a service loader. They've got it here called the service provider. This is the meat of the bottle library. The above methods, bottle service and bottle factory, are just shorthand for the provider function. Okay. So you would instantiate a new bottle, then you would apply all of these to the service, and then you would provide a function callback here. If water is not supplied, polyfill water. I'm not sure I need to get into that deep water here. Decorators. Bottle supports injecting decorators into the provider pipeline. Again, I don't know if I need to get into that. Bottle middleware are similar to decorators, but are executed every time a service is accessed. Yeah, no, I don't think I need to go down that far. I think at the moment it's just this that I need to worry about. So maybe I should create a new file here, and we just call this, say, I don't know, autoloader or something. And so what we need to do is we need to instantiate these things. Is that what I need to do? So we would do, let's do const spell it correct. Bottle is equal to new obviously I need to import it and everything, but and then we would do bottle dot service, and we would, in this case, we would do, say, in this case we would do if we were to do the managers, we would do, I think I need to get my casing right, user manager, and then that would be that, and then above here we would do service. That would be, actually no, that would be abstract manager. Actually, no, what am I doing? That's not even the thing. That's not even the thing. Sorry, beg your pardon. Sorry, I'm going all over the place, aren't I? Security API, that's what I need. That's what I need. That would be security API. Then we would have the user manager, which injects the security, which is called user manager, but it injects the security. I think this is right. This is dependency. Yes. Thank you, my IDE. Okay, so I'm probably going to need to fix all of these things to make it all You streamed 7 hours and 19 minutes. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. I take my hat off to you. 7 hours. Yeah, I never really got on with VS Code, you know. I played with it, but I never really got on with it. I haven't been. The thing is, and I know that VS Code it's written in, is it Electron? So you can use it on any platform. But I moved to Linux a very long time ago, and then I moved to Mac, and basically I haven't used Windows since Windows 7, and I found it very Windows-esque, and I didn't like it. So yeah, and I've been using PHP Storm for about 3 years now. I use PHP Storm, PyCharm, and there was another one I used for Rust a while back. Well, I forget its name. Oh, and also WebStorm. Yeah. Okay, so I'm guessing I'm going to need to define these somewhere, somehow. So if we did... and I'm not entirely sure how that would work. So you can register services with bottle service and include dependencies like this. So you would do... But if they require services at instantiation, then that would be tricky, right? How would you work through that? Beer is equal to new beer. You would pass that through. And then here I would do, say, bottle bootle container, and then what would I do? If I wanted to get the user manager, I would do user manager, I think. Right. Okay, let me see. Can I do a import of security API? Yes, please. It needs to go into the other place, though. That's not the right API client, because I've just moved it. Right, so that's that. But my issue is the next one. So this would be the user manager. The user manager would require the security API. We're not... Hang on a minute. We're not actually instantiating them, are we? Have I put it in a different place? I have. Okay, this could potentially work. I don't know how to pull in bottle, though. How would we do that? npm install. Is there like bottle is now available on a CD? Yeah, not bothered. Would I have to do... There we go. Okay, all right. Okay, so yeah, we're not actually instantiating these, are we? We're just saying importing the classes in. So I think that'll be okay. And then here we're doing expression statement is not assigned or call. Yeah, no, because what we need to do at this point, wherever it is in the example, I guess we would do user manager. We would do something like I don't know, I'm just playing, let user manager is equal to this, and then we would do user manager dot. And can we pull out the bits and pieces for this? Is this possible? So a user manager would have is logged in. There we go. Oh, that's clever. So PHP Storm knows that there is an is logged in method here. Ha, that's really, really clever. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. Excuse me. It looks like you give bottle.service a factory function. Okay. Bottle.factory function container. Yeah. If you need more complex logic when generating a service, you can register a factory instead. A factory function receives the container as an argument and should return your constructed service. Okay. You can register services and include the dependencies like this. Now, when you access bottle.container beer, Bottle will lazily load all of your dependencies and inject them into your beer service before running it. Okay, so one thing I need to do here is the user manager hasn't actually wired this up properly, so I need to actually put this in as the constructor. So we would have, whoops, security API, and that would be coming from here, equals new security API. That means we don't need that. Okay, I think that's okay. He says. He says. Now, obviously, this is going to get really. This is one of the downsides of dependency injection. In this sense, is this is only handling one class or two classes, I guess, or one dependency across two classes. There's going to be more. There's going to be far more. So this is going to be quite a massive file, I think, eventually. Okay. Okay. And then just thinking ahead, how would I test this? So we would instantiate excuse me, we'd instantiate a user manager and we would mock the security API. Where it is logged in, we would make sure that it returns false. We would also have to test this in isolation. So how would I do that? Okay, that's just checking whether there is a window. Okay, that's not that. I can mock that. That's not too difficult. Or I could override the window state in the test, in the jest test. Okay, that doesn't seem too bad. And then with the security API stuff, all the APIs, what I think I'm going to do is use Nork. Is it Nork? Which is the testing APIs. Well, it's mocking API in JavaScript. It is. I'm sure it was Nork. My spelling is terrible. Knock. There we go. It's knock. Duh. It's knock. So I would use knock as a means of mocking. Yeah, mocking the APIs here. So I would say that this API, when we do a get, we would reply with all of this stuff, and this means that I would be able to, when I do the testing, I can basically create my own API responses based on this, and then make sure that the user manager is coming back with the right stuff. So I could mock this or I could mock this bit to say, yes, you are logged in, or no, you're not logged in, that kind of stuff. All right. Okay. Fine. Okay, so that's the security API. Let's see if let's just play with another one. So I want to play with the course API. All right. So we got get free courses, and it would return. Yeah. Okay. It would return the free courses there. That's not really a good example. What about, say, the user API, get enrollments, enroll the user to the... Yeah, okay, maybe we should continue... No, let's do the course API. Let's do that. All right, so let's grab that, put that into here. Let's change this to be course API. And the course API is going to be up in here. It will extend the abstract class, and let's get rid of this for a second. Let's change that to be course API, and the thing that we're copying here is this. Let's put that into split vertical mode, get rid of you, go into this one, and that should be get free courses. Let's get rid of all of this stuff. It's not needed. Yeah, HTTP mocking. It's useful when I was using it when I was testing, say, the Stripe integration, which was really useful because obviously you need to mock out their responses, otherwise you're going to be making test payments left, right, and center, which in some cases is okay when you're testing the integration. At least that's great. But when you want to do some quick testing and stuff, and you want to manipulate the HTTP response codes or just the responses themselves, it's really good to do that. So you would create a scope, you would pretend to call something, and then you would get a reply back. And like this is an example of a post request, and getting posting some JSON. So this is how I would test, say, the login, for instance, and I would come back with a mocked ID, or in this case it would be a token or what have you, and then I could use that for the next series of tests. It's really powerful, this. I'll put this in the chat because this is so powerful. It's really good. So mocking an API request. Okay. So we do the await here, and so this isn't going to be a user API. It's going to be a system API, which means that we have the bearer token with the users. We have a different set of mechanisms for authentication and authorization. Because it's going to be more stateful than stateless. This is to do with dealing with the actual build of the system. So we would have to pass in a token, and I'm still on the fence here as to how to do that, whether it needs to be injected in as a dependency, or if the whole user, actually no, I've just gone and completely contradicted myself. This would be the system token. Yep, let's get that right. System token. So whether that would be stored somewhere in memory and then passed into the course API itself. I'm not entirely sure yet. In this old example, what it was doing, you were just passing it through. Anyway. So then we would do a fetch to the API, and the API is defined up here. So I've changed this now to be based off of the abstract. So get base URL is actually, you've got the get base URL here, which is howtocodewell.api, and then / API courses. So this would be, in this case, it would be just this, and then thank you for screwing that up. Courses, there we go. Okay, the method here would be get, and then we wouldn't need to include the credentials because that's more user-based, based on cookies. But we certainly do need to get the headers now, which means that we don't need a body. The headers, we would have make headers, although this one requires the bearer token, which is going to need to be, we're going to need to pass that into here somehow. And then what we do is we handle the API errors, which we weren't doing here, and then we were returning the response and doing something with a catch, which I'm not a fan of. We're going to have to play with that at some point. But we need to pass the token into here. So I think what I should do is make a little change to this. So token, and then sort of here we would check if there is a token, and if there is, we would apply it. So we would do something like let headers, and we would equal that to this. Let's return headers. And we won't always have the token because the token isn't always going to be stored in the header. So again, let's just call that, let's explicitly call that system token for now. Because obviously the users are going to use a HTTP only cookie, so it's a different, do you see what I mean? It's like a different thing. It's a different thing. So this is optional. So we would do if system token doesn't equal undefined, and then we would do headers dots, and what's it called? Authorization is equal to the bearer, and that's the system token. Obviously it's just a token, but okay. So now I've kind of made this an optional thing. I'm still on the fence yet whether or not to use Flow or TypeScript to deal with the types. So I was using Flow before, but I don't know. I've heard some interesting things with TypeScript of late, so I'm going to keep this as is for the second. But there's nothing here to say whether that's a string or what, which is annoying, or if it's optional. Excuse me. Okay, so we pass in the system token into here as the header, and then we do all the various bits and pieces like by standard. And then what's going on here? Is that a problem with the fact that needs to be? Yeah. All right. And let's just check on the imports. Okay. So in terms of the autoloader, if I wanted to load that up, just as an example, let's get rid of you for a second. Just make some room. Here, I guess what I would do is I would have bottle.service, and I would pass in, say, course API as course API. There we go. I can see now how this this file is going to get quite large. And then if I wanted to perform another example here, I would do course API get container course API and course API dot, is there get free courses, passing in the system token, so blah blah blah. Something like that. What happens what happens if I type a colon in Z shell? How do you mean? Like that? And enter. Okay, I'm gonna just do this in another window off stream, just because I'm a little bit. Hang on a minute. What are you doing? What are you playing at? Oh, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. There you go. I've just done it. Do you mean Vim? Do you mean Vim? Because with Vim, if say we did like VI of, I don't know, let's do the Docker file for instance. With Vim, you would do say, you would use shift and then that colon, that's the word I'm looking for, to then do various stuff. But just doing that on its own, it just brings you a separate line. That's all. But it's too early in the morning to deal with Vim. It's too early in the morning. That's cruel. Right. Okay, I can see this becoming quite large, but that's okay. We'll keep motoring through. Was there anything else I needed to do with the course API, or is it literally just? I think it's just this. But this I think reads better in terms of, you know, if I was to compare this with say this one. It's getting all sorts of like handle APIs from auth. That doesn't make any sense, does it? On each one, we're having to deal with pulling down the actual the API path and then putting that in a constant for each API. The headers we have our own little now abstract API class that handles this, with the fact that you could or could not have the token. Notice that there's an issue here in the sense that I haven't actually defined that the response should be, or the request should be JSON. So that's one thing that we've managed to handle here with the make headers. So we're saying that the content type is going to be application JSON. So this is me now trying to convince myself that I'm doing the right thing. Okay. Okay. So after the course API, and by the way, the course API is going to be used a lot in, say, if we went up to the plugins here of Gatsby and went into the course plugin Gatsby.node, in this class, what it's doing is it's a system login. Then it's doing the get free courses, which is essentially what that API does. So this, yeah. And then it does process courses, which is in here, which deals with the GraphQL stuff. But it means that these two are going to be handled by the dependency container, which I think is nice. Anyway, that's we're talking a few weeks away yet. Okay, all right. So, right. Do I need this or not? No, I don't need you. So let's get rid of that because this is supposed to be old stuff. This is supposed to be new stuff. So the next thing we've done course API. Let's do resource API. So this API gets in all the books. So when I build the site, it pulls in all of this stuff, all the books, which is, and so this is coming off of GraphQL. So is the courses, by the way, but this would be handled by GraphQL from an API. So if we went to, sorry, lost my windows. So if we created a new one, again, this would be a system call. It wouldn't be a call by the user, because this gets called when the actual static site gets built. Again, I'm going to put this into vertical mode and just get rid of this for a second. So that's resource. There we go. What did I get? All resources. So I'm going to just change this. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to just do get. No, I'm going to keep it as is. It's going to be easier to do the transference. We pass in the system token, and then we call resources, API resources. Pass in that as the header, which is what this was doing, and then we deal with so in this case we are doing the API errors, which is good. Okay. And then back with the autoloader, I'm going to put in another one. Now what I need to do is I need to build the managers for these two, like I've done the managers for here. And the managers would be the things that get injected into, say, our plugins. So in our in here, so we would inject that, and then we would do, say, courses get all free or something like that. Yeah, but let's just continue down the path of the APIs themselves, and then I'll deal with the managers after. That's probably the better way. So category. That gets all the categories. It's a pretty straightforward one. Let's just copy. Is it yeah, it is category, not categories. Category. It's singular. Da 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 da. Right, it's 8:05. This means that it's coming up to the last, say, 25 minutes of the stream. I'm a freelancer, so I can't do like what Straga has done. I can't do 7-hour streams, unfortunately. I have to work. And what I'm working on at the moment, obviously I can't say a lot because of various things that have been signed and all of that stuff. I'm essentially I'm a contractor in the UK. But it's got nothing to do, at the moment, nothing to do with JavaScript. Everything to do with PHP. So this is quite refreshing, doing this. I find this quite therapeutic. Let's we're dealing with view, aren't we? Let's move that into split view. I'm going to need to find out what the key mapping is, shortcut key, to do split views and all that. That would be good. Anyway, okay. So this is get all categories. Now they're in their own classes. I can standardize the names of these things. At the moment, I'm just keeping them as they are because it'll be easier to do the transition. But eventually, what I would like is to have this to be called something more like, say, find all by, or find by, or something like that. Not to make it sound too close to doctrine in the PHP world, but anyway, so that's another GET request. It's going to need to do that, and I think that's about it. That's what we need to do here. Yeah. Cool. And then in our autoloader once more, let's just do an example of the resource. Yep, API, and then this would be resource API down here. Get all. Hang on a minute. Have I? What's that called? Get all resources. There we go. And then we'll, just for completeness, this would be the, sorry, that's where I've got it wrong. This is category. Yes. Do. Category API. Category. Now, as I mentioned, we do waiting in the wings. We do have get all categories. An API client, which is an npm package that I've created that will eventually, it's like a side project on a side project. Eventually, will replace the APIs at some point. There we go. This command does nothing, although normal argument expansion is performed, which may have an effect on shell patterns. A 0 exit status is returned. Okay. Cool. Oops. This command does nothing, although normal argument expansion is performed, which has an effect on shell parameters. A 0 exit status is returned. Good to know. Good to know. I'm not going to mess around with my shell. I'm not going to mess around with my shell. It's taken years for me to get it to a point where I'm happy with it. I use Zshell, and I can do things like Docker. You can see Docker logs that comes up. All I had to do there was just type D, and then there you go. So I could do, say, Docker machine, and then start the machine up, or evaluate the shell, get the environment variable, sorry, not evaluate this thing. So this would be loading up the back end. Yeah, but we're not playing with that at the moment. The back end. May have to do that on Sunday. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Z shell auto suggestion. What else have I got? So I use OMG Z shell. And what else? I've got other plugins. I have aliases as well that do some really interesting stuff with, say, AWS, which is nice, depending on what profile I'm in. What else do I have? Yeah, this is its own sort of font. I think it's Pro font, I believe. Yeah, there's also obviously the usual reverse search, right? So what you would do in a shell, any shell, you would press. I'm on a Mac here, so I would do Control and R, and then this would bring up the backwards search, and then I would do something like, I don't know, Docker, and then that brings up the VI Docker file that we had just a moment ago. So reverse searching is incredibly powerful. I use it all the time. So if I was to do Docker and then compose, or say Docker -com, it's brought me the whole command here, the last command I used, which is just reading the history but in reverse, and then using your key input as a sort of a search, which is really handy. So where I think is the auto suggestion is a forward search, I think the reverse search is a backward search. No, that doesn't make sense. Don't quote me on that. It's just looking at the history in a different way. I think Z shell records the history differently to Bash, I think. Anywho. So we've got the category, we've got the course, we've got the resource, and we've got the security. We also have customer. So this is processing payments and other bits and pieces. I think it is just processing payments. These are features that haven't even been turned on yet. So, like, for instance, I mean, even on the actual website, the live site, there's no payment, there's no login yet. So we're now moving into things that don't really exist, or they are in sort of a dormant state. So anyway, let's do that. Let's do customer API and headers. What's that? Oh, secure headers and insecure. See, this can all go. This is useless. This can go. Right. So let's copy that through. This is customer. And I'm not sure if I should, because there's user API, there's security API, and there's customer API. I don't even know if, I mean, these are very small little classes. So it might be a case of using this as an opportunity to actually bring these together, because nobody else can make a payment apart from a customer. And what is a customer? A user. So I don't know whether to, or maybe I just change that to be payment API from here. The thing is, though, all these little refactorings are great, but because this is quite a broad change to the whole, we're basically stripping a layer and replacing a layer. I want to try and keep certain conventions and then refactor those in a sort of micro state later on. So I think what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to write a little note to myself. to do, rename to, and I think I'm going to call this payment API, not customer API. Yeah, I think that's probably a good refactor. But at the moment, I want to kind of keep it the same. All I'm doing here is changing the, putting them in classes and just changing the uppercasing the class name. Anyway, customer API extends abstract API. We pass in. Let's grab that for a second, and I will eventually get around to mapping this to a key input. We have async process payment. We require all of these things, apparently. It's doing a fetch to the payment URL, which is based on this up here. Let me just take this off stream a second and grab, well, I know why I did that. I think what I probably should do, yeah, let's do that inside here. Payment URL, URI, even. See, I know the shortcut key for that. There we go. It's a post. And we pass in the payment method ID and that as the... And the secure headers, we're passing in this. Now, that's tricky because really this becomes... And this is oh, gosh. Oh, no. You know, I said this feature wasn't implemented yet. This is requiring me to pass in a user object. And then from here, what we would do is we would pull in the token off of the cookies. And that's not the way I'm working now. So that whole system is, I'm going to have to remove that. I'm going to have to put in a to-do, another to-do here. Fix token. Header process. So we're not actually passing in anything here in this stage. Payment method ID is going to be needed in the actual body, so we'll pass all those in like that. And then what we do is we check for the handle of the errors. We're doing a lot of logging and stuff. That's cool. I mean, I'm not going to use this in anger until I actually write tests on it, of course. So okay, so I'm gonna need to wire fixed in header in process payment. Now this will include. Hang on, let me go back to the security stuff. Yeah, credentials include. There we go. Okay, got 10 minutes left. What can we do in 10 minutes? Apart from drink a very cold tea. Ugh. I haven't had any tea this morning. And I'm surprised all of this productivity. There's a tag API here. So that's being replaced, that's being replaced, that's being replaced. That's being removed. That's being replaced. There's this one. That one and that one have a bit of an identity crisis, I think. So with the user API, we have things like getting the user enrollments, which really should be, I think, should be on the course. So enroll user to course API, I think. Ah, hello. I'm so sorry. I'm going to mispronounce it. Is it Jlinkas 2? Good morning. Have you considered using TypeScript? I have. I've considered it. And I will keep considering it. I was using Flow not so long ago, and I was really liking Flow. It kind of worked really well with React. And the async await stuff with promises, yeah. So these things here, this stuff that I'm playing with at the moment, yeah, I'm gonna go through each one of these over the weekend and deal with the async await stuff. As you've probably gathered, I've done no testing today. So I'm essentially just trying to wire things up from BottleJS from that perspective, and then what I'll do is I'll go through each one of these and write a knock test. So I'll mock out the actual response of this, and then I'll decide what I do with the async awaits. Some of these are okay. You can mix async and awaits together with promises. But I appreciate that there are going to be some cases where I shouldn't be doing that. As you can see on here, we don't do that. we just deal with a fetch. So where I'm copying stuff from one file to the other, I'm just pulling across all of this stuff. All I need at the moment is just getting the actual the classes into the dependency injector. So with this, we're going to do, what did we just do? Customer. Customer API. Customer. And then this is in here. And what would that be? Process payment. So the payment method ID would be something like foo. The plan type. Something like that. I think that's, yeah. Cool. Using a tiny keyboard. It can also be a good idea to move all the catch into an into a separate function, so you'll never replace yes, the way you send auth headers, or if you want to use a fetch. Yeah, totally agree with that. So, for instance, with the course API here, we're using this.makeHeaders, which is off of the top of the abstract API. So we've got make headers here. We also have the ability to handle API errors. So that will eventually replace this. And I think the way my head was when I was doing this was that we would check for the status codes and other errors, the generic stuff in handle APIs, and then in this catch we would catch anything that the response throws. So hang on, that doesn't make sense, does it? So for instance, if it responded in a way that we didn't anticipate, but it was still a 200 OK, then we would throw something here. So when I write this code, see it more as a placeholders rather than the actual final product. What I'm really doing today is more to do with the structure rather than the actual. Today I haven't ran a single one of these things, so I'm just trying to restructure at the moment. It's kind of like a half-baked set of restructurings. The way my head works is I do it in phases. So the first thing is, let's move all this stuff into separate folders, right? Into, say, we want to separate all of this stuff into classes, because at the moment they weren't. These were just exported methods. And then once that's all in, we then do another pass, which is, okay, now we've dealt with, put all those in, we can then go, right, which one of these needs to use, say, async or not, and let's have a look at the headers all in one and deal with all of that, and then let's deal with the catching. And as I do those things, what I'll do is I'll write some tests around each one. So up in here we will be writing various different tests. So I would have a folder in here for things like API and manager and all that jazz. So at this stage it's literally just a case of plonking things in various different bits and playing with BottleJS. I've gone and lost. Yeah. So I know that a lot of this won't actually work. Yeah. The thing is, there was so many little things that were being the free free functions, as you mentioned. There were so many of those floating about, and it just got a little bit of a headache, especially with coordinating the scoping of things. Like, I'll give you an example. With the abstract API bit here, with the handle of the errors, this was dealing with primarily 401s, and then rejecting other bits as well, making sure that it was okay. And this method was being used by both the system, which is when Gatsby does a build, it handles the errors like this, but also with user-based API requests as well. And with user-based API requests, it was doing, if I can find it, bear with me a minute. This is basically one of many buckets of these free functions. Where was it? Here we go. So it was doing things like setting flash, so setting a flash message, resetting the credentials, and I don't need to do this if I'm doing a system-based build when I'm actually doing a Gatsby build, because there's no state to save the flash message to. There's no credentials, the user-based credentials. So it was getting a little bit interwoven. Like, for instance, logout would do the reset, the save, and then the redirect. All of this kind of stuff, and it got very. When I started, I was thinking, oh, this is extremely modular. But it just got very messy very, very fast. So I'm kind of thinking maybe these classes will help to do that. And the managers are basically the the entry points into the various different APIs. Yeah. You can tell that I'm not 100% convinced, can't you? This is something I was up quite late last night and I was thinking, wouldn't it be awesome if I just rebuilt how the APIs worked? And so I spent a couple of hours last night doing it, and here we are today. So if you come back to the stream, say next week, it probably will look totally different. Okay, so oh gosh, it is 8:32. I better skedaddle. As I said, I'm a freelancer. I've got a lot of work to do today, as I have every other day. So thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining today. It's been awesome, and thank you everybody for following, all the new followers as well. And of course, a massive thank you to the Raider Stragger. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And you did a 7-hour stream today, and you were working on lots of different stuff. You said, today I streamed for 7 hours and 19 minutes. I think Stragger deserves a good rest, good sleep. Thank you very much. Happy coding, everybody. I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.